Simplified the Podcast Season 3. I am your host, Hassan, and with me today we have author, actor, musician, Renaissance man, jack of all trades, Mr. LD Sledge.
All right, thank you.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm very good. Well, I usually answer the question good enough.
Good enough.
That's kind of non-committal, but it works.
Today on the show, Mr. LD Sledge and I will be talking about his cookbook because he is a chef, and this is Cajun Delectables, 100 Cajun family recipes, including a little known history about customs of the Cajun people. And those who know me know that I love food. So after reading the cookbook thoroughly, I found that it was a lot more than that. So he does provide a history lesson. This book, just to get this out there right now, is available on Amazon. You can go directly to pick that book up. It's a spiral copy and a really good one to have in your kitchen. Just take it from me. Before we jump into the show, please remember to like and subscribe. We are available on all digital streaming platforms. You can also find me under QLAFD if you want to search the website as well as social media. You are a very interesting character, let me tell you.
Well, I don't try to be. It's just that it's a curse and it's a blessing, having all that coming at me at one time.
I really enjoyed looking at the at your history, so to speak, because you have this section in the book for about the author. You're pretty much Louisiana through and through, which is where you got the influence for Cajun cooking.
Okay, I'm not a Cajun.
Right.
Because I'm from North Louisiana up on the Texas border. But after I went to LSU in 1953, when I graduated high school, it was that I met a lot of Cajuns, and I was really impressed. I didn't know what they were saying. They all had an accent in those days, you know, and it was like, it was funny. But then as I got into practicing law, and I went to New Orleans, and I practiced in New Orleans for 4 years, moved to Baton Rouge. I was dealing with a lot of Cajun towns all over Louisiana, putting water systems in and doing streets and doing financing, all that stuff. I was a bond lawyer. I had developed a big clientele when I moved to Baton Rouge. And I mean, we just got to be really good friends. I have lots of friends down at Pontchartrain, all over by Houma and Thibodaux. So as I traveled and as later on in life, I realized that people, right now, when I left the law practice and after 43 years, that was enough for anybody. I moved to Clearwater. I realized nobody knows anything about the Cajuns. And I say Cajun, they say, what's that? Or they say, oh, that's, they cook that hot food or something. They don't know anything. So that's the primary reason I wrote that book. I wanted to share the recipes of things that I had experienced and loved to eat, but I wanted people to know about the Cajuns. And like Smiley Anders, who's was my friend, and he wrote an article, he says it's a love story for Louisiana, and it really is.
So you're amongst being an author, and let me just state right now that you have 2.5 million words in print published.
I have written so many things on so much subject. I don't know what somebody's going to do with it when I die. They'll probably build a fire, you know.
It would be a nice fire. Well, no, I think we should all keep it. But let me ask you, what is it that made you compelled to use writing as your preferred medium? Because clearly you've been doing a lot of different art, but
yeah, I've always been a reader. One day I saw a book in a bookshop, and it said, maybe you can write a book. So I have always played piano a little bit, and I had my law clerk and my wife at that time. We were sitting around the piano, playing piano, singing, and we decided to change the words on some song. And on the way to New Orleans, I can write and drive. And so I decided I'd change the word to a song called Almost Persuaded. And it was an old hymn, and it became a country song, and I was writing it, and it just took off.
Okay.
And I started writing. I just couldn't quit writing. And I went in court and I'm sitting there waiting for the judge. So I'm writing it, and I went on back in the car and I wrote, and I stopped at a roadside rest place and wrote until I finished it. And it turned out to be a poem. I experienced something that I have had many times since. And it is whenever something, your muse or whatever it is within you just lets go and it just pours out.
Yeah.
And after that, I started writing, and I've been writing a lot ever since, you know.
So how many years ago was that you started?
About 68 or 69, 1970, I guess. So I've been really writing a lot since 1970. Yeah.
Okay.
50 years.
Yeah, 50 years. Yeah, and I find that it's beautiful, all right, because art in itself as a medium, I mean, you've chosen a lot of different ones. Is this your first cookbook, or have there been more?
No, I've never cooked another, or written another one. Now, everything else has been something that just hit me and I decided to write it or got paid for it. Like I've got ghostwriting. I can't give the title to because the guy owns, you know, the ghostwriting. Like, for example, Riches to Rags, and it's about this kind of a financial planning book for celebrities and professional athletes. This is a book on hiring that I co-wrote with a guy. That was two ghostwritten books. And then here's another one that I wrote for a client in New Orleans, Heirloom. This is a thriller set in New Orleans. And that one is, as a matter of fact, we were contacted one time by some indie producers who wanted to produce a series of stories about it. My mistake was I didn't stick with the genre. I didn't stick with the type of book to write. And I could have stuck with it, but I didn't. One of the first books I wrote, and that's called Command Influence. I was in the military and the JAG Corps, and I was trying cases, and I defended this guy and got him off. And this is what this is about. And this is the best book I wrote. See, this followed that one, and it's a thriller set in New Orleans. If I'd have had good sense, I would have taken that character and moved it into this book. And then I'd written a series after that. You know, the governor wanted to make that into a movie.
Sure. So those are three styles that I'm looking at. You have fantasy, you have fiction, you have instructional. Essentially, the cookbook is an instructional book, right, with a bit of history in it. And then Command Influence, was that more of an autobiography for you, or what was it?
Not really. I had to change the names and a few things in there to keep from getting sued, you know.
But let's get back to the cookbook.
Okay.
So you got a lot of recipes in here that I like, and I bookmarked them so that we can talk about that. Because I'm interested in your taste palette. I see that you are using some seasonings for some regular dishes that I'm familiar with, but the seasonings were a little bit different, right? So I wanted to look into that with you. I'm going to go ahead and pull one of these out right now. We can talk about it.
What?
How, in terms of the temperature and the seasoning, how do you blacken the fish?
Well, you can just overcook it, kind of burn it. I think Prudhomme, that's what he did. I think he made mistakes. Oh my God, I burned it. And then he found it tastes good. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, you got to get temperature at a certain level.
No, I think it's good too. There's always a question about the technique of it, right? Because, you know, if you're using the oven or if you're, you know, putting it on a grill. But the seasonings that you use, you know, Tony Chachere's, very common, right? Slap Your Mama, very common. What struck me as interesting in your oils is because I never would have thought coconut oil would be a part of the conversation. Olive oil, corn oil for sure. But why do you prefer coconut oil?
It's actually supposed to be, you know, I don't know, but it's supposed to be more healthy.
It is.
Than I remember whenever coconut had a bad name, they said, don't eat anything with coconut in it because it's bad, you know. And all of a sudden they make 180 and now it's all good for you. I cook a lot of butter, put a lot of butter and stuff, you know, but it'll burn if you don't watch it. And the way to stop it from burning, put a little oil in it while you're cooking.
Yeah.
mix that oil in there, and it'll hold it for a long time. You won't burn it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually, I share that technique with you. Personally, I would do butter and oil when I'm cooking. But let me just be clear. I agree that coconut oil is healthy. There's a health benefit to it. I also agree with you that the industry, the food industry itself, they pick and choose what they want to promote and condemn. You know, it just depends on the year. You know, if spinach isn't getting enough money, then you know we'll promote spinach as the new next thing, right? I use coconut oil a lot, but the thing that I thought was interesting here, in terms of a blackened recipe, is that I know putting enough oil in it is going to make that fish taste like coconut. You know, which may not necessarily be the thing that everyone wants.
Yeah, well, I don't deep fry it. I don't cook stuff in the deep fryer necessarily, you know, which would really saturate it with oil. And,
right,
you know, that would cause that flavor to go through. But mainly it's just to keep it from burning.
I'm glad you said it, because I know someone looked over my shoulder before and said, why aren't you using just butter? I said, because it's going to burn my skillet. And so now you heard it from LD, put butter and oil in so you don't burn your skillet.
Yeah.
So now I'm not the crazy one. Thank you. All right. So the next one, and this is a favorite of mine because I cook this a lot. The next one was the sweet butter spicy garlic shrimp.
Yeah. And a little brown sugar and stuff like that will really season it up nice.
Okay. So what I was thinking about in my head, I'm glad I get to ask you. Have you tried honey or agave nectar instead of the brown sugar?
No, I haven't tried that.
Now, this recipe here, I know very, very well because my grandmother, a lot of other friends, they like to cook with brown sugar. This works. By comparison, I had a little bit of a time dealing with Polynesia, Hawaii, and just more of the Pacific Island group.
Yeah.
Honey, butter, and garlic changes everything in the shrimp. Really does.
Wow.
I challenge you to try it.
Yeah. I know you might have some questions, but let me tell you something here about this.
Yeah, no problem.
Talk about pork chop. I always had a problem with pork chops because I loved them, but they were tough and I couldn't cook them right. Well, I learned a few years ago how to tenderize. Well, first of all, you take your center cut pork chop about 1 inch thick. And first of all, you just beat the heck out of it.
Yeah.
You break the fibers, break it up, and you've got it pretty well tender.
Yeah.
But then I'll take it, I put bicarbonate of soda on it, rub it on it, put it in a bag, put it in the refrigerator, keep it there at least an hour, overnight sometime.
Okay.
And wash that off. You take that pork chop, you take butter, and I chop up some garlic. Of course, I put some oil in it, but I put that, and I take it and I cook it down, cook it real down, real good. And then I put some brown sugar, a couple of tablespoons of brown sugar in there. And then I'll take I might put a little bit of Cajun seasoning or something just to give it a little zing. And then I cook that that pork chop till it's still got a little pink in it, but then whenever you take it out, it's going to cook itself a little bit. So that is the answer to having a perfect, really tender pork chop.
So what? How thick of a cut of the pork chop are we talking?
About 1 inch.
Okay.
Yeah, about that, and that's. Yeah, and then it's going to thin down after you beat it because you beat the fibers to where they're broken up. Yeah.
Okay, so you start with 1 inch and then it flatten it out pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I like it. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. We talked about that off camera. I'm glad you brought that up here too because I wanted you to share that technique. Your curried chicken, my special Cajun curry chicken.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Now I love curry.
I do too. I love curry. It's one of my special things. Okay. I'm telling you, that recipe will make you slap your mama.
now, since you said that, you don't have slap your mama seasoning on this one, so I guess you're making pretty close to it though. You got curry powder, but you're also putting in an allspice. That's the same allspice like the McCormick's allspice, you mean?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
something like that.
It's kind of sweet, you know. It works.
When I was reading the cookbook, full confession, when I'm reading the cookbook, I go to my cabinet, start pulling out everything in the pantry to see what I had. I was like, oh, I got enough to make this, so I am going to try the recipes. The way I'm reading your dishes, it is in all respect to Cajun culinary style. That's what it is. You're paying an homage to it, but you also have a small technique. You put a spin on it, you know, and I think that that's helpful, because if you don't want to cook traditionally, there's no rules to that. You don't have to, but it has to start at a core level from somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're just talking about the food, but I mean the history side of it as well. Those tidbits of information are important, because it's not just here's how you cook Cajun, but here's why this is a Cajun style. Yeah. Well, okay, so before we go further into that, let's talk about sweets.
Okay.
The two that I have that I need you to expand on is the Bananas Foster and the buttermilk pie.
All right. Now let's talk about which you want to talk about first.
Your call. You go.
Okay. Buttermilk pie is just, you know, I have to sometimes go back and refer to my book, but I'll tell you what, that's one of my favorite pies.
I just love the way it sounds. Page 172.
And it's like, you know, I don't know, city folks don't know much about butter. I mean, buttermilk.
Buttermilk, no.
And that buttermilk pie, yeah, 3 eggs, 1/2 a cup of butter, softened, 1/2 cup white sugar, 3 tablespoons all-purpose flour, 1 cup of buttermilk, 2 tablespoons vanilla extract, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and you just put that together and put that in the crust. You put it in the stove, and you got it. You cook it.
Now you are.
You can, like I say, you can make it a little lemony if you put a little lemon juice in it. You know.
Lemon juice.
I don't do that much.
So you're not making your own crust, right? You're just using the pre-made.
Yeah. I don't make my own. It's like whenever I tell people about making a roux, I don't go to all that trouble. I buy it already made.
Buy it already made. It's a means to an end. It is. I love it's very simple. The buttermilk pie recipe is a very simple recipe.
It is. It's real easy.
But when I read the vanilla extract, I said that is going to be so sweet. It's just between the white sugar and the vanilla extract, I might lose a tooth eating this one.
Well, the vanilla doesn't sweeten it, but it enhances the sweetness of the sugar a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. It does. I'm not gonna. I have a rule. I don't know why I have this rule, but I just do. I don't cook the sweets. I never have. Now I'm gonna buy them and I'm gonna eat them, but I don't cook them. I let somebody else do the sweet stuff. I'm more preferably a savory person.
Yeah,
I want to make this. Like I want to try this one out.
Yeah, we'll give that buttermilk pie a shot.
All right. So the last one then that we can talk about is the Bananas Foster.
Okay.
So I love to drive to Louisiana and get the two coffees. I'm a coffee guy, but the two things that I will get, one is the chicory and the other one is the Bananas Foster coffee.
Yeah.
So love the way Bananas Foster smells. Love the way it tastes. Can you give a quick rundown of that recipe?
Yeah, that's actually the whole, whole idea is that you set it afire and it's burning there, and then you put your ice cream on top of that, and that rum that you poured in there is now burned, and it's like make those bananas really. It puts that flavor into it just embeds it in that banana.
Yeah.
And then you got that juice, that beautiful flavored juice, to put the ice cream on it. And at that point, you died and gone to heaven.
Yeah, that was the account of the recipes, at least at the first overview of the book that really struck my attention. And again, I am cooking them. I'm going to send you pictures when I'm done.
If I were you and you have the interest to do it, do it. For goodness sakes, write a book. And it's really easy. What made this hard was, I wrote it first. It was a color book. There were a lot of pictures of the food I cook in there. Right? I mean, I had taken pictures of them, and every one of these had, but they didn't come through black and white, and I couldn't afford to have a color book. It'd cost you $50, you know.
Yeah.
So I did this, and I had this lady who was a book designer come and help me put it together and take some of the pictures and that they would not be copyright problem, you know, and have, I had a lot of things in here that she took out because of the fact she was afraid it was a copyright problem.
Sure.
You know, but all the recipes are the same. They're there, the pictures and so on. Anyway, a lot of these pictures are pictures that we found and put in here. You know, just it's loaded with pictures and loaded with information. People don't know about the Cajun Mardi Gras. They don't know about, I mean, it's just so many little stories.
Yeah, I think there's a need to document history. There's too much history that can be either whitewashed or rewritten at anyone else's convenience, and it's not fair to the people who actually were a part of it. So I do thank you for taking the time to even give the history lesson in a cookbook. I mean, that's important. It really is. But you made mention of something that I don't want to forget, and it segues me into the last part of this, which was the business side of it. So in this particular cookbook, this is a self-published book?
I had it published on what they call KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing.
Okay.
It's a pod, P-O-D, which means print on demand.
Right.
And then you send it to, and when somebody orders it, it instantly is printed and they send it to them. Yeah, and that's what that's all about. And you don't have to spend a penny.
Right.
Do it. And then they make the money on the percentage that they are selling it. But then the book that you've got, people like the spiral, and they said, okay, so if anybody wants a spiral, I'll have to send it to them. It lays flat and it's good looking too.
Yeah, it looks real good. No, it's very well constructed. Looks real good. You know, the paper spine, I'm sure it looks good as well. But I appreciate you sending this one. So that was Kindle Direct, and then it's also print on demand. And for that is a direct outlet through Amazon. Is it available anywhere else? Barnes and Noble as well?
It's just available only on Amazon.
Right only now. On Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, for the price is like basic $19.95. That's not much for a book like this.
No, it's not. No, it's 200 plus pages.
There's 214 pages, and it's rich with information and data that you're not going to find anyplace else. You know. Again,
if we don't have it documented and published, it becomes lost. Like the Gullah people, you know, South Carolina as well. I mean, it becomes ancient history. Since the book is available on Amazon and just the cookbook, can you let the audience know where else they can find you?
The email address is sledgewriter, as a writer, W-R-I-T-E-R, SLEDGEWRITER @gmail.com. And 727-667-1191. That's my phone number. I don't have a website. I have what's called a landing page, and it's got stuff on there that you can. The page is called www.CajunCookingSecrets.com. Cajun Cooking Secrets.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for this. It's been fun. We covered a good bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was interested. I mean, we're talking about food here, and we're talking about Southern Louisiana cooking. I mean, I'm all for it. This is LD Sledge, the writer, the musician, the jack of all trades. It's been wonderful speaking with him. Please remember to like and subscribe for the YouTube page, as well as hit the subscription button for the digital streaming platforms. We're available everywhere. This is Qualify the Podcast Season 3. This is Hassan, the host, LD Sledge, the guest. Thank you so much for your time.